take a look at the risk area for the rest of tonight, and includes some really populated spots like Indianapolis, into Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, even Baltimore and Washington, D.C. How about you into New York City? So this is the risk area where severe storms are possible. Now, there's not been a lot happening in this area so far today. We've got a few thunderstorms here and there, none of which are severe. The heaviest of rain is just on the east side of Cincy right now and working its way across the Ohio River, but these could escalate a little bit and have a little punch to it. I don't think we're going to have a ton of organized severe weather. The models have not been depicting that at all, but we may get some clustering of thunderstorms that bring the heavy downpours. We could get a few spots that have some isolated damaging winds that go along with this. This is 10, 11, 12 o'clock tonight, and then as we go into the overnight and early morning hours for tomorrow, there may be a second little wave here and there where we get isolated storms. So you can see the models, they're initializing pretty well, but they're not showing a ton of action, but they're also not showing zero action. So keep that in mind. You need to be prepared if you live in these areas, and just stay alert. I would go about my business tonight, but just, have the phone in the pocket with you and just keep a check on the weather conditions as they unfold. Now, a few of these storms could produce some localized flash flooding. We've had rounds of rain and storms across this area. We've got our frontal boundary, which is slowly sinking southward, but there's not a ton of lift or energy in the atmosphere to really get these things going. A lot of that is happening farther off towards the west. So we're looking for that upper level trigger to kind of put that punch in there to get storms going. Now, tomorrow looks a little bit more likely, believe it or not. And while we just have the light pink area here for tomorrow, that could go up with time as we get a little bit more confidence on how things could unfold. We do think tomorrow morning is looking pretty okay here overall. But look what happens with the heating of the day, and as our cold front gets a little bit closer, we get that lift coming up along the Blue Ridge. Storms start firing up along I-81, and then boom, work their way down towards the I-95 corridor. 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., down towards Fredericksburg, and eventually working its way towards the Delmarva by your early Friday morning. So taking a look at conditions here, it's been pretty hot and kind of sticky around the D.C. metro area. The storms will bring some nice relief. We're getting into that time of the year, Pruitt. I mean, it's September next week already, where we start getting these little tastes of fall. It's fake fall still.
There'll be some warmer days ahead.
We have a few of those cooler days, but we do pop up. Yeah.
Right after Labor Day, right? Look at those 70s for D.C. Those are high temperatures, too.
Right.
So that's getting people excited.
And we've got some pretty heavy downpours expected in a place like Houston. And they're virtually right now with rain and thunderstorms expected to come down, especially tomorrow. I know we're doing pretty good right now, so try and enjoy that luxury before the really heavy stuff comes on in. Here's a look at your forecast, and we do have chances of thunderstorms each and every day through the holiday weekend. Now, that said, not all days are going to be created equal, and I really do think that tomorrow into your Friday could be probably the wettest days of the bunch, where rain's going to be a little bit more steady in some of these areas, but thunderstorms can be expected. And notice our models now depicting more than a half of a foot. We could be talking about 8 inches of rain between now and the end of the holiday weekend. So here's that big clustering of thunderstorms into the Gulf of Mexico. You can see that big shield of cloud cover associated with it that's already trying to work its way in here. And notice how the action just really starts to pick up as this moves closer. By tomorrow morning, Houston, you could have a wet morning commute, especially for you later commuters. That's expected to move in across the Lake Charles area. Notice that some of these outer line areas into New Orleans will get hit with some of those bands of precipitation as it swings on in, and a big area focused of heavy downpours between Houston and Lake Charles. So Beaumont, Orange, Port Arthur, all could be impacted by all of this. Now, right now, there is a little bit of low-level spin. Nothing at the moment that makes us think this could turn into a tropical depression or storm or anything like that, but tropical downpours. And that's bad enough when we're talking about heavy amounts like this in vulnerable areas that typically will flood with just a couple of inches of rainfall. So there's your future radar and your chances of rain going right through Labor Day. And it's not just Houston. This could work into southwestern parts of Louisiana. That's a look at the forecast still to come. Hopefully some of the worst Most of it stays offshore, but you need to be prepared for it for the Houston metro area and areas off down towards the south and west. We need the rain across some parts of this region, especially into western Texas. To even get a little bit of moisture into that region certainly would be well. More than 200,000 customers, so it's many more people. This number went down. It was almost at 250,000 when we started Storm Center, so we're making some progress. It's great to see that, but of course, a lot of those outages down here into the populated areas as those damaging winds work their way on through. So lots of damaging wind reports and wind gusts here from yesterday. 85 different wind reports, a lot of that in the state of Michigan. There were 157, I think, overall across all of the lower 48. So here's that first line, that first punch that moved through lower Michigan and caused all the damage. It actually started in Wisconsin, moved across the lake, and then really bowed out here. And there's our single storm that then just exploded into a big old cluster of storms that worked their way through Chicago. So, boy, the areas that got hit really got hit, Bruin, and it included a lot of the big cities.
All right, and speaking of big cities.
And we're going to have some trouble, especially in the midday through evening hours across parts of the upper Midwest. So think Interstate 35, I-94 could be impacted by severe storms. Also a little stormy here in the mid-Atlantic states and into North Carolina. And some showers and storms could cause some delays in places like Houston tomorrow. And that could happen even in the morning hours. So a lot of rain is going to be headed your way. Now, our future radar is showing you conditions are going to be pretty calm through the first part of the day in the mid-Atlantic, but look what happens right along the Blue Ridge. Storms are going to fire up, and they're going to work their way all the way from I-81 to the I-95 corridor, and some of those could produce some damaging winds. That's going to be a big concern for you. D.C. stretching down towards Richmond, and then eventually working its way towards Norfolk and the Delmarva, and that could continue into late Thursday night. Now, as for the Gulf Coast, Interstate 10 is going to be affected by this. Rain will likely be heavy at times. Intercontinental, Hobby, both could be affected by storms, and even New Orleans, especially as we head into the latter part of the day. That will work its way up I-55 into Mississippi, and even Jackson could get some hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. The heat's still going to be out there tomorrow, with a lot of us experiencing feels like temperatures in the upper 90s to near 100. Several records could be in jeopardy here. That corn sweat, along with all that moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, is increasing those feels like temperatures to some dangerous levels, Bruin. You got to check on your people and your pets.
All right, well, we'll always keep